Thanks, guys, for coming to this session. I assume that you're all selling car parts on eBay now? Yes? Anybody not selling, maybe thinking of it in the future? No, you're all doing it now? One or two? Good. Anybody selling motorcycle parts on eBay or thinking of doing that? Yep, a couple? Great. Originally, I was going to do two sessions, one on motorcycle parts and one on car parts. And I spoke to eBay a couple of weeks ago and they said the motorcycle parts is coming, but it's not quite here yet, so we thought we wouldn't quite go out too strong on that just yet. However, the good news is that the way that the car parts buyer experience is working on eBay is very much the same. It's just adding on now a different range of products. So a little bit of background about myself. Those of you who have been in some of the other sessions might have already seen this slide, just sort of a quick summary. I worked at eBay for about 5 years and I've maintained a very good relationship with eBay ever since. A lot of the clients that we deal with are either trading on eBay or maybe want to trade on eBay, but our core business now is primarily in data, helping people to structure their data, optimize, create data and so forth for e-commerce, whether it's websites or marketplaces, and building websites and integrations. That's sort of the core areas that we do. So, all right, let's get on to the important stuff. So what I want to go through today is basically where eBay is going as a marketplace. Christian's talked about eBay being a technology company to empower and enable e-commerce and enable you guys to make a living. And so what eBay's done is really boiled down what it is for a customer to be thinking of a particular part for their car, and then how they actually go about finding that, and what that process is, what pops into their head and what they type into search, and how they sort of make their journey to finally parting with some money, which is going to end up in your pocket. So we'll talk about where eBay is actually going with this. We'll talk about how buyers actually search, and I'll give you some screenshots so you can see it. I'm hoping that some of you have already done that. I'll talk a little bit about eBay Garage, which some of you may have heard of. Some of you may not realise just how significant that is with the new experience. 12 months ago, it wasn't. It was there, it's been there for about 6 or 7 years, but it's actually hugely significant now, and more importantly, how do you make some money out of it? So as I just alluded to a minute ago, eBay is about to launch parts fitment for motorcycles, which is pretty cool. It sounds like a lot more work, and if you're selling motorcycle parts, you probably will be cringing. However, from a buyer point of view, eBay has a distinct advantage over any of the other marketplaces in Australia because of what I'm about to tell you about the way that eBay works for motor vehicle parts and accessories. So that now being extended into motorcycles is all about what eBay is actually trying to achieve. So what is eBay actually going for? What are they actually trying to achieve? In 2 words, that's it. Buyer confidence. If you're going to part with $500, you want to be pretty damn sure that you're going to get what it is that you think you're going to get, right? You don't want to take a chance, and if you're going to buy a part, pull it out of the package and pull the other one off and then screw it in and then find that it doesn't fit, that's pretty annoying. And you just spend a lot of money. Now you've got a part that's potentially used or damaged or whatever, and okay, it's just a mess from the buyer's point of view. Never mind the fact that you as a seller may have to then process a return. Whose fault is it, the buyer or your fault? Who knows? So what eBay is going for is buyer confidence. The more confident a person is that what they see on the screen is what they want, will fit it, bearing in mind that a lot of people are like me. I love cars, but I'm not terribly mechanically minded. If you showed me a car part, I probably couldn't tell you where it came from in a car. I'm sort of outmatched by all you guys. You know your industry very well. So buyer confidence is what eBay is going for. How do they achieve that? Well, let's say I'm going to eBay. I'm looking for some brake pads. I'm pretty average, and I don't think about this much. Again, my brake pads are gone on my car. I need some brake pads. So I just type in brake pads. Now, you guys are probably going to be laughing at that, going, well, how stupid. Why would you type in brake pads? Because brake pads depend on the car that it fits. But, you know, a lot of people just go type brake pads. Go to Google and have a look at the number of searches that happen for just brake pads on their own. It's crazy. So I type in brake pads, and there's 1.6 million results. The chances of me buying something is actually pretty high. I'm probably going to find what I want in amongst that. That's a very, very big number. However, eBay then also says brake pads, you know, there's 1.6 million. Do you want to stay here for a whole year searching those? Or maybe tell us which car you've got and we'll help you find it. As if you're not going to tell eBay which car you've got, because that's, you know, that's what you do when you go to the shop and say, which car do you have, sir? All right, so you then start typing in, I've got a whatever. There we go, sorry there. I've got an Audi. I actually don't, but I've got an Audi A4 2014 model. I'm choosing the one there. And eBay goes, yep, fantastic, got it, go. Great. Look at that. a big green box. I don't know how well it comes out on the screen there, but it's actually coloured green. So that's a nice, soothing, reassuring, green light sort of message subliminally to the buyer saying, got it. These parts will actually fit your car, 110% guaranteed. Now, of course, that promise is relying on you having done something at your end to make sure that that information is accurate. But in terms of my experience as a buyer, I go in there and go, awesome. I'm left in no doubt. I don't have to continue to search and type words in because it's right there. I've gone from 1.6 million down to 187 results. I'm not going to look through 1.6 million, but 187, it's only a page or two on eBay. That's easy. Flick, flick, flick. Look for the cheapest, look for the brands that I know or whatever. That's easy. That's crazy. So what eBay also does at that point, now that I've told them which vehicle I've got, which specific one, it's a sedan, it's a ute, it's a particular model, motor, or whatever, eBay actually adds my vehicle to every title automatically. Don't know if you knew that. It's always good to go in and sort of try it from the buyer side and actually see what happens. That's pretty cool. But now I'm a little bit confused because I'm looking at some of these titles and it's like Audi B8, Q5, I've got all these other numbers, fits Audi A4, and as a buyer I've just got a little glimmer of doubt in there about, hang on, is it A4 or A5, right? What I'm getting at is that eBay is actually heading to a space where they're going to ban you putting make, model and vehicle details in the title for this reason. Okay? And why? I mean, it sounds stupid, right? Because then people won't find what they want. No, because buyers are actually doing this increasingly. I'm going to give you some stats in a minute just to give you an idea how many are actually doing it. So, in a perfect world, in eBay's view, that title would then say front brake pads, fits Audi A4 2014. Wow, 100% buyer confidence. I'm buying the part. Price is good. Away you go. That's what eBay's heading for because they know that the buyers are the ones with the money. The buyers hold all the power. You can advertise to them and tell them all the promises in the world, but unless they feel safe and feel like they can trust you and feel that what they're seeing is what they're going to get, they're not going to part with their money. So very, very interesting. All right. The other thing that's also up there is that reassurance. Yes, we've got your vehicle. And there's this little link there that says, go to my garage. A lot of buyers would be very curious about that, as I would be if I saw that there on search results. I'd be like, go to my garage. What's that? Let's go and have a look at the garage. It looks like this. It's pretty clear, pretty clean. And there's a picture of my car, which is actually not my car, but maybe you've got that Audi A4. Maybe yours is a different colour, but it's the right car. It's the right shape. They've actually populated all the vehicles so that it's the right model, and that's great. You can actually put multiple cars in your garage. Everyone's got an eBay account. You don't actually have to buy things on eBay to do this. You can go and add all the vehicles to your eBay garage. As I said, eBay garage has been around for quite some time. When I started at eBay, I think it was either launched soon after that, so it's been around for about 8 or 9 years. Might have even been earlier. But it's only just been in the past year to year and a half that eBay's actually really started to push it a lot more on the buyer side and in search results. So the great thing is, if I then go into my garage as a buyer on eBay, I pick my car because it's already there. I then type in brake pads there. I don't have to type in the vehicle. eBay's not going to ask me again. They're just going to show me the parts that fit. And here's the kick. eBay will only show me parts that they know fit that vehicle because you've actually told eBay that your part fits that vehicle. That's the really important bit. To give you an idea of the size of eBay Garage now, 1 in 12 cars on Australian roads are already in eBay Garage. eBay didn't put them there, the buyers did. The buyers actually put them there. That's about 1.5 million vehicles already in eBay's garage. That's only after 1 year. So that number's going to obviously continue to go up. So it is highly significant for you guys to be aware of the way that eBay does the buyer experience on eBay, because it does require you to do some things on the back end. We did a session on this topic last year. It was a room full, so they're giving us the big room this time. And it's very important. The message is exactly the same as it was then, but it's obviously marched on a little bit in terms of the engagement from buyers in actually using it. How significant is this? So motor vehicle parts retailing, we're told, is around about $5 billion in Australia, which is a pretty big figure. And if you then break that down, and I've just made this number up, I haven't actually verified this number, but if you then break that down to 1/12 of that number, that's all I've done. So very, very simple maths. Just on the basis of the number of cars in eBay Car Garage, it's still $420 million on eBay alone. That's a pretty big pie. I actually think the number's higher than that, and we probably need to go to Terapeak and check it, but that's still a massive number, especially to be spread amongst this small number of people in this room. So let's say now, as a buyer, I go back to search and I try it a different way. So now I'm a little more savvy. I've bought brake pads before, and so now I'm actually going to type in A4 Audi Quattro because they're a cool car, and that's my car, and up it goes. So I'm now typing the whole thing into search. I'm a little more sophisticated buyer than just somebody that goes brake pads, which sounds pretty dumb. And eBay goes, you mean the Audi that's in your garage? As if I'm going to say, no, I'd rather go through 2,000 results. No, I'm going to click that button and then I'm back to the 187 results again. You see, so what's happening is buyers only need to do this once or twice, and they know full well they're not going to waste their time looking at all those search results. They're going to press that button, and at that point, eBay only shows them listings where you have told eBay that your part fits that specific vehicle. I've said it twice. So, what's happened? We're now looking at the sellers, your competitors, and you guys. 1.5 million results, yes, it's across all the different cars, I get that. But even just down from 2,000 to 2,900 results for Audi A4 in the title, down to 187 with absolute 100% buyer confidence, what happened to all those other listings, even the 2,000? That means what, around, I can't do my maths that quickly in my head, but let's say, what is it? It's around 90-95% have just dropped out of search results altogether. I've been speaking to quite a number of car parts sellers on eBay, and they say, oh, sales are down 20%, 30%, 40%. Yeah, because if you haven't done what you need to do, which is what we're now going to show you how to do it, then you're not in that 187, you've dropped out of search results, and the 1.5 million customers, or 1.5 million, or the customers that own the 1.5 million cars, are now actually only seeing results from people that have done what I'm about to show you. So this is why it's really, really important. There's a massive opportunity there, but you need to do some work to make sure you tap into it. And the great news is not many sellers have done it yet still, even though eBay's been telling them to. So it is worth the effort to actually do it. Okay, this is a basic principle of business anywhere, but let's particularly put it into the online space. The more often you're going to be seen, the more often you will be visited, and therefore the more you will sell. If you are not seen that often, then that whole thing shrinks down, and obviously you're going to sell less. They're all related. So visibility in search and findability is a really, really important place. That's where it starts. They don't start with the, I'm going to go straight to the listing. They start with the idea in search. You've got to be found. You've got to be in search results. These are terms that we've heard over the past day or so about e-commerce, right? There's impressions, there's clicks, there's conversion. That's what eBay is. It's exactly the same. Search is the impressions. People then click through to your listing, and then if they like it, they buy. So how are you going to boost your impressions on eBay for the car parts products? How are you actually going to do it? This, in one screen, this is pretty much it. So firstly, make sure that the data and the information that you've got about the products that you're selling is complete and accurate. I've highlighted them both. Right? It's no good having lots of information, but there's actually holes in it, because then you're setting yourself up for a real problem when the customer comes through having been given 100% confidence from eBay that the part will fit, and then, oh, whoops, actually that's not correct. Bad buyer experience, that's not going to help, it's not going to be good. You're going to get a negative feedback, and eBay can't help you. So make sure it's accurate, and yeah, make sure it's complete as well. Provide size for tyres and wheels specifically. That is a requirement on eBay. If you try to list something, whether it's through an API, third-party solution, or directly on eBay, you're going to find that it will stop you if you're not providing the size for the tyres. So you need to be able to do that. Where the manufacturer has a barcode on the product, if it's a known brand that has a barcode, pop that in as well, because that actually will allow you to, or allow eBay to put your product, or to select the product from their actual vehicle parts catalog, which is the next point, automatically based on the barcode. Now, eBay's got a big vehicle parts catalog that they launched last year, around about this time, so it's about 12 months ago. And I'm hoping that some of you have had a good look at that. You can download it from the eBay Seller Center and actually look at the whole catalog. But if you actually put in the barcode and it's in the catalog, the fitment's done for you. It's done automatically. So that saves you a lot of effort if you're selling those sort of products. Not everyone does. Some people are actually selling custom-made products or high-performance parts that are a bit generic and fit lots of different vehicles, and maybe they don't have barcodes. That's quite okay. So for products that are not in eBay's parts catalog, what you need to do for everything else is you need to implement eBay vehicle compatibility across all of your listings, all of your products as best you can. If it's a generic item like, I don't know, a tow bar, right? The tow bar doesn't really depend on the car, it's just how it's installed, then you're not going to have parts compatibility necessarily. In fact, it probably won't make any difference. But if it is a part that actually applies to a large number of cars or a small number of cars, you should do this. Even things like car covers, right? Because the buyer is not going to know which car cover is going to fit their car just because they probably never bought one before. And if you say it's 5.4 metres long, they're not going to get out tape measure and measure their car. That's not how buyers think. So you actually saying this car cover fits these 1,000 different models, that's great. 100% confidence, much greater chance of a sale. Plus you're in the 187, not the 1.6 million, okay? Make sure your descriptions are accurate too. So I've had a few people ask me, you know, this part will fit this vehicle, but there's some requirements or some conditions, or it's only a certain version of the motor or whatever it happens to be. There's some little peculiarities about it. Put that in the description. So eBay will give the buyer the confidence that this can fit and will fit and should fit your car, but if there are some exceptions or some requirements for it, you know, if you've had a certain modification done, it won't work. Put that in your description, so at least that way you're covered. If the buyer comes back and says, oh, it doesn't fit, it's like, well, yeah, we told you that. And that way you've got more chance of eBay actually backing you up as well, protecting you as a seller. The other thing you should also do is, once you've done that, now again, going back to the screen I showed earlier where eBay automatically puts in the vehicle details into the title, if you've done that, you don't need those details in your title anymore. You can still leave them there if you choose, but one thing I would not do is put in, say, BMW and Holden and Ford all in the same title, even if it fits all those cars. Because for the average buyer, if they see two different makes together, straight away they think it's not the real thing, it's not going to fit, it's a generic part, somebody's just having a go at me. Okay, so at least make it a listing which is just particular to one make, which is going to give higher buyer confidence. I'm not really talking about duplicate listings here. This is an industry where on eBay you are going to have duplicate listings in reality, but providing the fitment is actually different, that's not generally regarded as a duplicate on eBay. Happy to talk about that in more detail afterwards if you need. So the suggestion that I'm making to you is that you would probably take the names out of the titles for some of those. Now, don't go and do it across 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 listings all at once. Do it on a small subset and then watch their performance, right? Because eBay's in the stage of change, stage of evolution with this particular buyer experience. So I wouldn't go cold turkey on everything in case it's not working, but I would pick a selection of products and watch them. Not just one or two. I'd take 10, 20, maybe 100 and just watch them. Definitely supply the brand if it's a branded product, and obviously the images, the better the images are, the better they'll be. For non-mechanical people like me, the image probably won't mean a whole lot, but I'll tell you what, if it's a fuzzy image and it's a small image, it reduces my trust even if I don't know where the part goes. So if the image is nice and clear, much greater confidence. I was working with a client about 2 years ago who sold wheel bearings for cars. And they literally had one photo for 10,000 listings. And their reasoning was, well, the bearings, it's kind of a part that you don't really see. And, they had a picture of about 5 or 6 different types of bearings because it could be any of these. That's right. They were trying to do it the easy way. They were trying to get out of all the hard work, which I was trying to encourage them to do. And, of course, they used to constantly get people coming back saying, hey, but I only got one. You got a picture of 5 different ones. Where's my other products? And, you guys will laugh because you're in the industry, but, hey, not every buyer is actually mechanically savvy. So again, reduce the confusion, reduce the doubt, increase the confidence from your end, and definitely plug into that fitment. I don't really need to say anything more to that, right? It's actually one of my favourite slides of my whole presentation. That's the reality. It sucks. It's hard work. I know it is. We do data work day in, day out. We work with a lot of automotive parts merchants, and we're not experts on it, and it's hard. But it's not something you can do just by pressing a button on a computer. There's some programs out there that can do a lot of AI and a lot of lookups and checks, but even the people that run those programs will come back and say we can do about 80% confidence, 85% confidence. If you can, that's great, and if you are confident with the results of that, that's fantastic. But you still need to look at it. We've worked with a number of sellers on eBay, for example, that have got 100,000, 200,000 parts, which is just huge. Great for a business, great for buyer selection, and great for covering all of the different models of vehicles. But if you haven't gone and looked at all those for the past 5 years, there's probably a lot of dead wood in there. There might be some stuff that's out of date. In one of the other sessions I did yesterday, I showed a dashboard in the back of eBay under the Growth tab, if you're in your Seller Hub. Go in to look at underperforming listings, and there'll be a list of there'll be a big list in there of the listings that haven't sold, and it will tell you how many days they haven't sold for. If they haven't sold for a year or two, get rid of them. Check them again before you go and relist them, because you want to make sure you're getting sales. No point having them there if they're not selling. All right, so I think I've demonstrated why we need to do it. Now the question is, how do we do it? There's actually probably several different ways of doing it. I'm going to highlight 2 particular ways of doing it. So one way is to literally go onto eBay, as a lot of sellers may have done in this category, going to create the listing, or if the listing exists, going to revise it, go down to the section that says, you know, the fitment starts here, click the blue button, use list, and when I did that, that's what I got. I don't know if anybody from eBay is in the room, but we need to fix that. It sat there for half an hour doing that. I tried it again for another half hour. It did the same thing. So I'm not saying eBay's broken, but I don't know what was going on. If that happens, you're not going to get it done. And if you've got 100,000 parts, you know, not enough time in the world to do that. So definitely not doing that. The second way, and eBay's got instructions about how to do this. You can download them from the Seller Center. You can actually get eBay's master vehicle list, download it, and then you can actually apply the correct vehicle code numbers, which eBay's generated, or K-types if you're using industry codes, and pop them into the spreadsheet of all your products, and then upload it to eBay in bulk through File Exchange. In theory, it works for hundreds of thousands of listings. The reality is that sometimes it won't do a big list like that, so you might have to do them in lots of 5,000 or 10,000. So again, a little bit tricky. The big kicker for me in this is that you can't actually export that data out of eBay. So you can put it up, but then if something goes wrong and you end the listing, you've got to go and do it all again. I'm a big believer in you owning your own data. A big believer in you doing the hard work and owning it there. So if something goes wrong, you've got to back up. I think that's a really, really important thing in this line of business specifically. The second option I've got up there is Neato. We work a lot with Neato. We're a Neato partner. I like the way that Neato has solved this problem. If you go and use the spreadsheet that eBay provides, you can use the filters at the top if you're good with a spreadsheet, and go and search for the particular motor vehicle that you want, and you know, there's the numbers, and then cut and paste it or whatever. Still a lot of manual work. What Neato's done is they've downloaded that same spreadsheet into the back end of their system, and it creates a category structure, right, in the back end. It's about almost 200,000 categories, so to give you an idea, it's pretty big. And so I would go into that. I choose the eBay vehicle compatibility category tree. I then choose Toyota, Land Cruiser, and all the way down. And at the bottom, I just go add to category, and there it is on the right-hand side. Right? Now, there's not one button you can press to say, fit it to all Toyota Land Cruisers. I wish there was. We're still working on ways of doing that. It's data, so we can play with it to a degree, but we haven't got a proper solution on that just yet, and we're talking to Neato about ways of doing that too. But eBay, unfortunately, made it a little bit harder and actually created a little bit extra work for you guys, unfortunately, towards the end of last year, which I only found out by accident. Even though it's a bit more work, the end result is higher buyer confidence. Therefore, it's a big thumbs up for people spending more money. So it's kind of still worth doing it. Oh, I should mention too, people that have got cars in the eBay garage spend more often, and have bigger purchases, and like individual purchases, than other people buying in the car parts category. So that's good news. Definitely worth doing the work, because there's a big upside there. That work in Neato is done basically on that. We work a lot with spreadsheets, and we can do stuff in spreadsheets, cutting and pasting all the time. We still find it easier to do it this way directly in Neato itself, right? So to do the next vehicle, I've added one. What was on the left is still there. I don't have to select it all again. So I just go back now to 2019, change it to 2018, click the next one, done. It's a repetitive task, which is what our data team does, for example, and you would have to do as well. But we still find that quicker and more efficient than actually trying to do it in a spreadsheet. The way that the way that Neato works with that problem, and as I'm trying to find out from Channel Advisor how they do it. They've got a very good integration with eBay as well. Apart from having sort of a custom written script or API solution for it, these are the only ones that I'm really aware of that actually work sort of out of the box. As I said, the master vehicle list gets downloaded into eBay. It's called a compatibility list, or you call it whatever you like. You go into the product record, you select it, it goes back through the rules which go back to eBay, and there it is on eBay, and that's what it looks like. So there's a full screen view of how it looks in an eBay listing. It's a lot of lines of stuff which most buyers aren't going to worry about, but the buyer can go in there and choose their actual vehicle. If they haven't come in from the garage or haven't come in from search results with their specific vehicle, they can actually go and have a look in your listing if they've landed on it in some other way. Once that data's in there, it again gives the buyer 100% confidence. So basically the two options, if I can sort of recap on the way to do it, you either choose a product from eBay's product catalogue of car parts and accessories. You can do that either by manually choosing it from the catalogue or providing the barcode. That's usually enough. Usually the barcode and brand combined is usually enough for eBay to then map it. If you do that, then eBay will actually say, well, we know that part fits these 800 different vehicles. And so that's done. So it can save you a bit of time. So if you're selling those branded parts, it's definitely worthwhile. Even if you're not sure, download the parts catalogue and just have a look through it and just see whether it covers any of the parts that you've got. If you can't do that, it's worth then going and manually applying the fitment to each of the other vehicles, as we've explained. You can do it directly on eBay, you can do it through a API third-party solution or uploading through File Exchange, as we've said. There is a limit of 3,000 specific vehicles on each listing. Some parts are very generic, like things like light globes for headlamps and things like that, very generic. But again, as a car owner who's not terribly mechanically minded, if I want to find a globe replacement for my car, I'm going to want to type in my car and have confidence that it'll fit. I don't know that it fits 100 other cars. You guys do, I don't. So again, think about the buyer experience and just take away the pain, take away the uncertainty, you might say, from them as well. The one place to go, Kristen Felice from eBay, who's the new Seller Experience and Engagement Manager, who some of you may have met, has told us that the Seller Centre on eBay is about to be upgraded quite substantially. It's the slowest website to load that I've ever come across, but it's worth the wait because the information in there is extremely useful. This page is the one that you want to pay attention to, so go under, it's under Sales Tools on the left, then Parts Compatibility, but you can search for it in the Seller Centre there as well. That page has everything you need to know. It explains you how the experience works. You've got the downloadable spreadsheet like the master vehicle list with all the vehicles in it, which you can use if you've got a way of using that. And it will also have the instructions for uploading via File Exchange. It also has the parts catalogue. It's all there on that one page, so please do go make use of that. Are there any questions? Clear as mud? Yes, question.
eBay in the US have a brilliant feature in My Garage where you can see an exploded view of the vehicle and click on the parts. Any plans to bring that here?
Yeah, so I think that would be a fantastic thing. I can't answer on behalf of eBay because I don't know, but I would hazard a guess, knowing how they think, that would be on their agenda. That data is not something that eBay can make up. It's not something they're going to rely on sellers to provide because they won't. It's data that they have to get from data companies that specialize in that kind of data. So in the US, I'm not sure what the company is they're dealing with, but the company in the US has got all those exploded views. In Australia, the company that they're working with, PartsDB, doesn't, or if they don't, or if they do, it's not complete enough for eBay to use. We recently had, so the other issue they've got is this, that some of the manufacturers are still in the dark ages, as you may have experienced. And whilst they have exploded views on their systems, they're still very protective about it. They don't want to let them out. We were doing a project recently for a fairly large automotive client, and we were just taking screenshots because we were told that we could. And then after we started putting them up onto eBay and up onto their website, the manufacturer or the supplier came back and said, no, you don't have a license to use that. We had to take them all off. We didn't get into trouble. It was the seller's problem, but yeah. So that would be really, really helpful, especially for a mechanic or somebody that kind of can, you know, DIY their own car, to sort of say, I also need that part, and also need that part. So yeah, definitely would be a benefit. That's some good feedback perhaps to give to eBay. Yep. Any other questions? Yep.
I've been using eBay's EPID fitment codes, and I wasn't sure if you're going to cover it in amongst this. I noticed it's a very limited amount of brands that must have supplied eBay with the compatibility for their stuff. Is that something that eBay is pursuing more brands for the EPID codes?
Okay, so so the question is the EPID codes or the EPID, which is the eBay product identifier. I don't know what the D stands for actually. Some interesting define, I don't know. But it's the eBay number. It's not an industry code, it's an eBay number themselves, itself. K-type, which is more industry standard one, sort of covers a range of things. The EPIDs actually go down to very, very specific variants, specific years and so on. And the question is eBay actually going after more data because there's holes in the data that they've actually got? The simple answer to the question is not directly. eBay doesn't go directly to Toyota or Ford and say, give us all your parts. They're actually working with PartsDB. So if you know PartsDB, get onto them, have a chat to the guys there and ask them about how they're sort of filling up those holes. Look, it's a challenging industry because there's new models coming out all the time. But the theory is that once a car's been made, those parts should be pretty much there for the rest of as long as there's one of those on the road, right? So again, have a chat with PartsDB and find out what they're doing. What eBay does say, and there's an email address or a link on the page in the Seller Centre. If I go back to that one. There's a link on that page where you can actually report to eBay an error in the catalogue. Remember, it's not their data; they're actually paying to license it. So, sort of go a little bit gentle on them, but definitely let them know. They did stuff up last year, unfortunately, and somehow managed to either misspell or miscategorise Holden Commodore of all cars. And so for a long time, you actually couldn't even select a Holden Commodore. I mean, that was just a really, really bad mistake. It then took them about 3 months before they finally fixed it, even though they realised the day after they put it out that's all right. So nobody's perfect, and unfortunately, eBay certainly wasn't on that occasion. So eBay has been made aware of vehicles missing, and then they've gone back to their supplier, PartsDB, and said, right, where is it? Then they've gone and got the data. So you can actually help to improve the catalogue for eBay by making those reports. And then obviously going and adding in the parts fitment to your listings as well. Yep. Alrighty. So there's a question up here. Yep. Oh, sorry, can you speak up a little? Yes. Yes. Okay, so the question, for those that may not have heard it, is in Neato, we've shown how you can actually select the compatibility within the SKU record. The question is, can you also actually put that information in a spreadsheet? Because Neato's got very powerful import-export functions to be able to upload a spreadsheet, and therefore it might be quicker. And you might even be able to do it as a lookup, for example. The answer is yes, absolutely. So it works in exactly the same way as you would upload or put in the category ID numbers. In actual fact, the way Neato works is their category structures, their blog pages, their web pages, the eBay compatibility list, they're all content groups. That's what they call it in their developer language. And therefore, they all function exactly the same way. So every single one of those has a sequential number, so it's unique. So a category that's for mufflers up here might have a number 403, and the category for the Ford Falcon AU 2000 and whatever is, number 102,368. I'm just making up numbers. It varies in your Neato account. It's not the same for each Neato person because it's a sequential number, so it's unique to you, but it ties to the same data. So if you go and look up that vehicle in your category list or your compatibility list in Neato, and get that number, pop it into the spreadsheet. If it fits several vehicles, you put a semicolon between it, put the next number, and you can upload it all in exactly the same way. Yep. All right. If you do have any more questions, just look around for me. Happy to stay down here and answer any more questions if you have any specifically. But thank you very much, and all the best with your businesses. Thank you.